judged out of those things written in the scrolls according to their deeds. And the sea gave up those dead in it, and death and Hades gave up those dead in them, and they were judged individually according to their deeds. Time of the earthly resurrection. We note that this judgment is placed in the Bible in the account of events occurring during Christ's 1,000-year reign with his associate kings and priests. These, the Apostle Paul said, will judge the world. 1 Cor 6. 2 The great and the small, persons from all walks of life, will be there, to be judged impartially. They are judged out of those things written in the scrolls that will be opened then. This could not mean the record of their past lives nor a set of rules that judges them on the basis of their past lives. For since the wages sin pays is death, these by their death have received the wages of their sin in the past. Row 6. 7, 23 Now they are resurrected that they might demonstrate their attitude toward God and whether they wish to take hold o textoi acute miritra longo. Resurrection 789 of this word in the Christian Greek scriptures are as follows. Our judgment. 2. Judgment, justice. Mat. XXIII. 23. Comp. 12. 20. 3. Judgment of condemnation, condemnation, damnation. Mark 3. 29. John v. 24, 29. IV. The cause or ground of condemnation or punishment. John 3. 19. Via particular court of justice among the Jews. Matt. V. 21, 22. A Greek and English lexicon to the New Testament, London, 1845, p. 342. If Jesus, in speaking of judgment, meant a trial the result of which might be life, then there would be no contrast between this and the resurrection of life. Therefore, the context indicates that Jesus meant by judgment a condemnatory judgment. The dead that heard Jesus speak on earth. In considering Jesus' words, we note that when Jesus spoke, some of the dead were hearing his voice. Peter used similar language when he said, "In fact, for this purpose the good news was declared also to the dead, that they might be judged as to the flesh from the standpoint of men, but might live as to the spirit from the standpoint of God." 1 Pe 4. 6 This is so because those hearing Christ were dead in trespasses and sins before hearing but would begin to live spiritually because of faith in the good news. F2. 1. Compare Mount 8. 22. 1-5. 6. John 5. 29 refers to end of judgment period. But a very important thing to note is, something that helps to determine the time feature of Jesus' words concerning the resurrection of life and the resurrection of judgment, is what he said earlier in the same context, in speaking of those living then who were spiritually dead as explained under the subheading passing over from death to life. The hour is coming, and it is now, when the dead will hear the voice of the Son of God, and those who have given heed literally, word for word, the ones having heard will live. Job 5. 25. This indicates that he was not speaking merely of someone audibly hearing his voice but, rather, of the ones having heard, namely, those who, after hearing, accept as true what they hear. The terms hear and listen are used very frequently in the Bible with the meaning of give heed or obey. See obedience. Those who prove to be obedient will live. Compare the use of the same Greek term amidal.kao, hear or listen, at Job 6. 60. 8. 43, 47. 10. 3, 27. They are judged, not on what they did before hearing his voice, but on what they do after hearing it. Jesus was therefore evidently taking a similar position in time in speaking of those who did good things and those who practiced vile things, namely, a position at the end of the period of judgment, as looking back in retrospect or in review of the actions of these resurrected persons after they had opportunity to obey or disobey the things written in the scrolls. Only at the end of the judgment period would it be demonstrated who had done good or bad. The outcome to those who did good things according to those things written in the scrolls would be the reward of life. To those who practiced vile things, a judgment of condemnation. The resurrection would have turned out to be either to life or to condemnation. The practice of stating things as viewed from the standpoint of the outcome, or stating them as already accomplished, considering them in retrospect, is common in the Bible. For God is the one telling from the beginning the finale, and from long ago the things that have not been done. Isra 46. 10 Jude adopts this same viewpoint when he speaks of corrupt men who slipped into the congregation, saying of them, "Too bad for them, because they have gone in the path of Cain, and have rushed into the erroneous course of Balaam for reward, and have perished literally, they destroyed themselves in the rebellious talk of Korah." Jude 11. Some of the prophecies use similar language. Compare Isra 40. 1, 2. 46. 1. Jah 48. 1-4. Consequently o textoi acute miritra longo, resurrection 790 flesh and blood cannot inherit God's kingdom, said the Apostle Paul. 1 Cor 15. 50.